Hello everyone, myself Dr. Tanish Katti from the Football Digest,
And I am Atavaris Varsi from All About Football.
and we are here to present to you the Football Maniac podcast on Spotify. So,
Yes,
coming straight away to the point, how are you, Atavaris?
I am fine, and I'm actually very excited about the semi-finals of the Euros 2024. And what about you?
Yeah, it was actually a cracking game between England and the other team. You know,
Yeah.
so the Switzerland team was quite impressive for me as well. I didn't
Hmm.
get to see the Netherlands Turkey match, but I hear it was a great match as well.
Actually, the thing is, I was in a party last night and I came back home. So I missed the first half of the game, but the second half I watched Netherlands versus Turkey. And the thing is, when I started watching that match, there's a story, there's an underdog story. And when you see that underdog story, you want them to win rather than a team that is already strong, that is already quite well based, like Netherlands or England. So when I was watching that match, I was wholeheartedly supporting Turkey, but unfortunately, they conceded those two goals in the end, and the match slipped from their hand. But what a performance by Turkey! What a run they had had in this tournament, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, the absence of Demiral was I guess, the breaking point for the team since we
Yeah.
got that two-match ban from UEFA.
Hmm.
So I guess if he would have been there, there would have been a leadership in the team,
Hmm.
and there would have been a direction because the way that they started the match, I saw the highlights as well, and the way that they started the match by scoring an early goal,
Hmm.
that was, I guess, a building block for them. But
Yeah.
given that Netherlands have a better experience in major competitions than Turkey, I guess
Hmm.
that was the point where the match changed. And Cody Gakpo has been in an impressive form in this
Hmm.
tournament. Scoring 4 goals and having an assist. That is quite an impressive performance from a person who has not performed in the Liverpool team in the last
Yeah.
season. So
And
that actually is a very great record.
yeah. And not just about Netherlands and Turkey, we also saw England and Switzerland go against each other. And before coming to those two matches, let's first talk about the best match of this Euro. It was,
Yeah.
of course, Spain versus Germany. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that was the game of the tournament for me up until now. Let's see what
Hmm.
the semi-finals and the finals bring to us. But I game up till this point, the Spain versus Germany match was the cracker. So, basically two teams having completely different styles in
Hmm.
terms of possession, in terms of tactics and everything. And when these two coaches who have been quite experienced in their
Hmm.
respective careers, even though Nagelsmann is a very young coach, he has been
Yeah.
at an elite level for past so many years. So it was a great match, and it was actually a very good match for the career of Tony Cruz to end, even
Hmm.
though he was on the losing side. But it was a great joy to watch. I mean, he did get some favors. We'll have
Yeah.
to be realistic. He did get some favors from the referees as well. I guess because the Pedri challenge was the red card booking for me. He
Yeah.
should not have stayed on the pitch longer than that.
Hmm.
But since it was like a exhibition match for Cruz as well, and the match itself was quite interesting. Spain scoring out of nowhere and Lamine Yamal. I mean, that guy is a genius.
Hmm.
At that age, to have such a confidence, to have such a great sense of attacking, and
Yeah.
have such patience to see the run of Danny Olmo. And Danny Olmo was very cool with his pass as well into the net.
Hmm.
What do you think about the match?
The thing is, Spain versus Germany. When I started watching the match, when I switched on my TV, there was an excitement for the match. After you have watched the whole group stage, you have watched the round of 16, and the way Spain and Germany were playing in this tournament, and after so long, Germany, we've seen there after the 2014 World Cup in the Euros, they didn't perform well in the Euros 2016. Then in FIFA World Cup 2018 as well, they were knocked out in the group stage itself. In the 2020 World Cup also they were knocked out, and in 2020 Euros also they didn't perform that well. So to see them rise under Nagelsmann, who was sacked by Bayern, and it was quite unfortunate, right? So to have him at the helm and to produce such big results. The first match itself, the beating Scotland 5-1, and that kind of presented Germany, that kind of represented Germany, because we have seen Germany as ruthless and they never stop. If they score three, also they want more, and that is the Germany we wanted to see, and we got exactly that against Spain as well. And talking about Spain, I would say the whole tournament under Luis de la Fonte, the way Spain is playing, because they are quite renowned for keeping possession, but in this tournament their possession has dipped, but the attacking play is quite good, because we saw in the FIFA World Cup 2018, 2022, they were knocked out and they kept possession but they slightly dismanaged it. But in this one, they were quite good with it, and in this Euros they have done pretty well. So coming to this tournament, both these sides, they had a strong build up and they had favorable results as well. And these two games, I felt like this match should have been the final, Spain versus Germany, because it was kind of a final. You were, nail biting till the end, till the final whistle. That full crook attempt in the final attempt. You felt like it is 2-all. Then Jamal Musiala missing it in the final seconds, and then there a free kick by Carvajal receiving the red card, and then the ball directly reached to Unai Simon. But the way Germany played, even though they conceded first, the way they backed themselves up. Of course, I know Spain went defensively after scoring that one goal, but the way Germany bounced back and then scored the goal in the 89th minute by Wirtz, it felt like the match will tilt any side. We were not sure as to who will win the game, and that is what you want from a football game, especially in a tournament like Euros, and that is what exactly we got. So, as a football fan, if we ask a neutral football fan, it was 101% the most entertaining match in this Euros. And talking as a Germany fan, because I love Germany, as a Germany fan, even though I was on the losing side, but the way Spain played after so long and seeing Germany at the top, it seemed like Spain deserved it. And Tony Cruz, of course, as you mentioned, that he should have got a red card. Of course, within the 10 minutes itself, he should have gotten a red card. But seems like as it was his last match, so the referee were also favoring him. But anyways, the best team won, and now they have reached to the semi-finals. Now coming on to the next match, France versus Portugal. What do you have to say about that game?
That was a very boring one, in my opinion. I mean, both the coaches, because I don't know what the reason has been since the World Cup. The tactics used by Didier Deschamps, he has not been that great with the tactics.
Hmm.
I mean, when I saw the team play in the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup, that match against Argentina was probably
Yeah.
the best match that I've seen up until now in my
Hmm.
life as a football fan. And seeing France in this tournament, it has been absolutely dreadful for the for such a talented pool of players. You have
Hmm.
Mbappe, you have Coman, you have Kolo Muani, you have every single player has been top class at
Hmm.
any point of career. You know,
Hmm.
even Kante, he has been in Saudi since the past few years, but still he has been producing such great performances in the Euros this year. But
Hmm.
given if you have seen the statistics, France have actually reached the semi-finals without scoring, without scoring a goal from an open play. The three goals that Spain has scored, two have been own goals, and one of them has been a penalty. So the team are
Hmm.
yet to register an open play goal, and that is actually very horrifying, given the fact that you have probably the world's best player in your team in Mbappe.
Hmm.
And you have creative players like Rabiot, like Griezmann, and you have a midfield machine in Kante, and still you cannot score an open play goal. That is really horrendous as a perspective, from a neutral perspective.
And just to ask you, do you feel that this France team missed Paul Pogba in midfield?
I think that is the only player which would have made this France team win this Euros convincingly. Because
Hmm.
in my opinion, I don't think France are progressing to the final. Because the way Spain have been playing, like you mentioned before, that Spain have been a bit more less in possession, but a bit more attacking player.
Hmm.
So that attacking player has actually been from the manager. He has been a bit more direct in his tactics, and that is actually is what, from a neutral perspective, is what I want as a fan. So
Hmm.
it's good that Spain and France are in the semis, but I don't think France have it in them, even though they have so many talented players. But I think Spain, as a cohesive unit, as a team, they are a much better fit for the final.
Yeah, I think the same because Spain, as you already mentioned, that Spain, as they are playing attackingly more, and considering that France is not that convincing in their game style, I feel like Spain should go. They are the deserving ones who should go to the finals. But we have seen they have received so many yellow cards. Several of their players will miss the semi-finals, like Danny Carvajal, then Morata, then Normand, their defender, and many other players. So I feel like Spain, considering the bench strength that France has, Spain will be lacking that in the semi-finals. But considering the way Spain is orchestrating themselves, I feel like Spain will win, but it will be a tough contest. I think it will go to the penalties, and in the penalties, I think like Spain will win. But talking about the Portugal and France, as you have already mentioned, you have already told me that you are a Ronaldo fan. Do you
Yeah.
think that Ronaldo should step down now as a player for Portugal? Is he letting the team down?
What I believe is Ronaldo should be sat down by the
Hmm.
coach Roberto Martinez. And I think he should be told by the coach and the management staff that you have to start accepting that the lack of speed that Ronaldo has as of now, that
Hmm.
is a major blockage which is hindering the team massively.
Hmm.
I mean, I have read a statistic today that since the 2022 World Cup, I mean, since the past 9 matches, Ronaldo has not been able to score in any single one of them. That includes the
Hmm.
Euros, this Euros, and the past World Cup as well. So, it has been a bit of a dry spell for Ronaldo, and I think he should start accepting the fact that he's more of a bench player now for
Hmm.
the Portugal team. But given the fact that his ego would not let him be a bench player,
Yeah.
I think it's best for him to retire from the Portugal team and
Yep.
not, yeah, because see, I agree, Ronaldo for me is the best player in the history of the game.
Hmm.
You have other players like Messi and everything, but being a Ronaldo fan, I prefer him to be the GOAT. But given the fact that even the GOATs have to retire at some point of time, and I think it's the time where Ronaldo should be focusing more on his club career rather than being, a scapegoat for the
Yeah.
Portugal national team. Because if you don't have Ronaldo, you can't blame him. But if you have him, he's the one guy that you will always turn to if Ronaldo have a bad result, and that is what
Yeah.
is exactly happening. So I think Ronaldo should, in my opinion, step down from the national team and let the team progress into the next phase of its development because he already has so many great players, Joao Felix, Diogo Jota,
Hmm.
Bruno Fernandes, Joao Neves in the midfield, and you have many attackers also, Leao, you have Bernardo Silva, you have Gonzalo Ramos who did not actually play that much in the Euros because of Ronaldo.
Hmm.
I know Gonzalo Ramos is not that great of a player because of the fact that he has not shown his talent in the PSG team. But I think
Hmm.
if given a run of games, he will strive and he will be a better player for the team.
Yeah, and speaking about Ronaldo, I believe that if Ronaldo would have kept on the bench and he would have been brought after 60 or 70 minutes, he could have made a difference because the opposition players would have been tired, and at that moment, Portugal could have taken that advantage of having Ronaldo on the pitch in the last 20 to 25 minutes because he's the ultimate clutch player, even better than Messi. We all know he's the ultimate clutch player, and when you want him, he can provide you results. So I think if they would have benched him and would have brought him after 70, 75 minutes or 60 minutes, it could have benefited Portugal and they could have defeated France. But since, as you already mentioned, the ego won't let Cristiano Ronaldo sit on the bench, as we all noticed in the 2022 World Cup itself. So I think it's a better option for him to retire. So coming off from that topic are France, Portugal, and uh, from that side of the qualifiers, coming on to this side, we already talked about Netherlands and Turkey. What do you think of England? Will they be able to beat Netherlands in the semi-finals?
It's going to be a very crucial and a very, a very not an exclusive, but I think even if England beats Netherlands,
Hmm.
they will have a good chance of winning this Euro. Now let me explain. I know England don't have the tactics and they don't have the manager, but let me just explain it in a couple of minutes. England has not been that great with the whole tournament. The
Hmm.
team is full of superstars and it has not been that great for past many years since the 2016 Euros, right? But in every single competition that they have participated, they have come too far in the competition. All
Hmm.
right, even in the last Euros, they were the team who started massively. They were the massive favorites for the competition, given the fact that it was in England, and they started pretty well with Luke Shaw scoring the first goal. But it was there. It was a chance where in penalties it's a 50-50 chance. Any team can win against anyone. All right, but I think if England have come this far into the Euros, riding on their individualistic performances of the whole team, and their team is full of superstars. So they have
Hmm.
Bellingham, Kane, everyone. All right, from the defense, be it midfield, be it the attack, they have even their B team would probably start for teams like Netherlands. So I guess that the B team of England would probably beat the Netherlands team if they had a great manager.
Hmm.
But given the fact that Southgate is the manager of England and he relies on moments. I mean, we saw yesterday as well when Switzerland scored the goal, it was a panic station at the England side of
Hmm.
the England camp, and
Yeah.
they did find a way through. So Saka came up with the goal that was actually very good outside the box, off
Hmm.
the post and into the goal. That was quite an amazing goal. But I think they have a better quality in terms than Netherlands. Netherlands has the same structure. If I'm being frank, their coach is also pragmatic like Southgate. But given the fact that England has a better bench and has a better squad, I think they will make it to the final. And once it comes to the final of any major competition, no one is a favorite, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Even if it's England versus Spain, it's going to be a 50-50 competition. And I think England have with their individualistic performances and with their squad, I think they can make the result. I'm not saying that they will be, but given the fact Spain haven't won a major competition other than the Nations League, So even
Hmm.
the traditional competitions, they haven't won it for past so many years, and so have England. So there will be pressure on Spain more than England, but I think it's going to be an interesting watch in the coming weeks. What are your thoughts about the England game as well? I mean, what would you think would win in the match?
I think, as you already mentioned, that England have a talented squad. They have a good squad compared to Netherlands, but I feel like the Netherlands will be able to suppress this England side because the way I have seen Netherlands play, even though they were also a goal behind, just like England against Turkey. But the way Netherlands managed to pull that game, and went through a lot of articles. I saw the highlights also, and I feel like Netherlands, they know how to enter that 18-yard box better than England. So I feel like it will be a cagey game, of course, for both the teams, but Netherlands will slightly edge past England and will go through the finals. From that side, Spain France, I don't know because it's a 50-50 game, so I'm not sure because France has a talented squad. Spain has a game style that is quite that is quite possession based. Of course, they don't have that possession, but the attacking possession style is quite impressive. So I feel like that is a 50-50 game. But talking about this one, I feel like Netherlands will go edge past. And my predictions for both the semi-finals is I believe Netherlands will win 2-1. And talking about Spain and France, I feel like it will be a nil-nil game. It will go to the extra time. Either in the extra time it will be Spain or France, or in the penalties it will be Spain.
Okay. I think it's going to be England from that side
Hmm.
because you know according to me it's going to go to extra time. And I have seen yesterday in the penalty shootout as well. It was very impressive with their kickers. I know Akanji missed the penalty, but every single one from the England side,
Hmm.
and they are seasoned penalty takers. Be it Ivan Tony, Saka missed the penalty in the last Euros, but he has
Hmm.
grown a lot since that time, and we can see the maturity in his play, overall play as well. So I think it's going to be England from that side. I think it's going to be 1-1 at the end,
Hmm.
even at the end of extra time. It's going to go to penalties and England. And from this side, I think it's going to be a very cagey game. it's going to be actually a very close game from a France perspective because they are not performing attacking wise. So I think from this side it's going to be Spain, and let's see
Hmm.
what happens in the final.
Hmm. And talking about this was all about Euros, but
Yeah,
if you talk about Copa America, there's a separate tournament going on. Of course, there is no live telecast in India for Copa America, so I am a bit unfortunate and a bit dejected by that. But still, anyways, we find those links, those different links. So I am watching those games. So what do you think about the Copa America, the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, especially Argentina and from there Uruguay, of course, and Brazil?
I mean I have been really impressed with the way Colombia has performed in this tournament.
Hmm.
I mean they already had I guess what a 23 game unbeaten streak before the competition, and they
28.
28, right? Yeah. So they have also continued that in the competition as well in Copa America. And in the article that I wrote in the Football Digest, I actually predicted Argentina to finish as the winners, while Brazil were going to be the runners-up. But Brazil were
Hmm.
knocked out yesterday
Yeah.
by I guess Uruguay in the penalty
Yes.
shootout.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I've been really impressed with the way Darwin Núñez has performed for the Uruguay team. So
Hmm.
in that particular tournament, I think it's going to be a very cagey one. Argentina will definitely qualify from the semi because Canada are the amateur team, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because that's the first time that they have qualified for the semis as well. So I think Argentina will qualify from that side. It's going to be a very cagey game. It's going to be a very tough game for the Uruguay and the Colombia game. But
Hmm.
it's going to be a very frank opinion from my side. I think it's going to be Colombia. It's going to be an Argentina versus Colombia final, and that
Okay.
is going to be an interesting match. I know you disagree with me. I can see that already. So
I actually what is I just went through the means highlights of Uruguay and the way Bielsa has means restructured this Uruguay side. I feel like this Uruguay side will pull off another victory against Colombia. Of course, I don't mean to disrespect your opinion, but I feel like Uruguay will edge past Colombia and will go to the finals. Of course, from their side, it is of course no brainer that Argentina will come to the finals in if there is no miracle from Canada. But I don't think Canada will do any such kind of miracles. We know Argentina very well. But from that side, as you already mentioned, it will be a tough contest between Uruguay and Colombia. And Colombia, as we saw in the quarterfinals, they beat 5-0, and they are coming from that huge boost from motivation. So they will, of course, give a run for the money to Uruguay. But I think Uruguay will go through to the finals. And once again, I feel like it will go to the penalties, and there Uruguay will get the victory. What do you think about the predictions?
I mean, I'm actually very fascinated by the Copa America format this year. I mean, they don't have an
Hmm.
extra time. If 90 minutes is the draw, they are straight away to penalty, and that is actually
Hmm.
a better option in terms of football, so that creates less pressure for the teammates and the teams in general.
Hmm.
So for my predictions, I'll go Argentina a 2-0 or 3-0 win against Canada. Is going to be an easy game for them given their quality.
Hmm.
The Uruguay match, I think it's going to go to penalties as well because Colombia, even though they have been all impressive attacking wise, I know Bielsa's style from his time in the Premier League as well. So he will make
Hmm.
them run for their money. And it's going to be a tough match. I guess it's going to be a good match for football. I guess I'm predicting a 2-all draw. And
Hmm.
like I said, I think it's going to be Colombia who wins the penalty.
Sure. So that is about Euros and Copa America. Let's
Yeah.
shift towards the transfers. So let's start from you. I have already seen that you have wore the Manchester United jersey, and there is a huge news going on over the footballing world that Delete is going to join Manchester United. So what do you think? Are you happy with that transfer news?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a massive, not exactly a risk, but it's going to be a massive transfer signing for Eric Ten Hag because he has worked with Delete before at Ajax, and given the way his signings have worked in the past couple of years, he has to make this transfer window work for him in his favor.
Hmm.
So I think it will be a good start for Manchester United to sign Delete, and given the fact that they are under new leadership in terms of football operations under Enion, I think Ineos will have to
Hmm.
make a statement with their signing this season because given the fact that the cost associated with the ticket transfer is I guess 35 million euros plus 35 million pounds plus the add-ons. I think it's a good
Hmm.
deal for a player who has the pedigree of playing in elite teams like Juventus, Ajax, and Bayern Munich. So it's going to be a massive upgrade for me in terms of the fact that we have already lost Varane, and
Hmm.
in the defense we don't have that much quality other than Lisandro Martinez in terms of centre back. So Delete is going to be a massive boost to the team. And in coming to the other transfers as well, so Delete is the one which has been part of the transfer rumors now. But
Hmm.
there has been another transfer which everyone is talking about. So Chiesa from Juventus.
Hmm.
So Chiesa from Juventus is available for 25 million euros, and that is
Hmm.
a very cheap price for a player of his quality. So what do you think? Because Chiesa is more of a player who is a flair player, attacking wise. So what are your thoughts?
I think we all know the quality Chiesa possesses. We have seen in the Euros as well. Of course, Italy didn't perform that well, but the way Chiesa transforms himself when playing for Italy, uh, he's quite a good player, and he can always bolster a squad to a much greater heights. So I feel like uh, Juventus Juventus not letting Chiesa keep him to themselves and letting him go. I feel like that is a bad move from Juventus. But I also read an article that said that Chiesa was not happy with Allegri. Of course, Allegri has left Juventus, so Thiago Motta is at the helm. But he has no plans, as Fabrizio Romano said. Like Motta has no plans of keeping Chiesa to his team. So I feel like it is going to be, a competition for Chiesa because he will be available in the market, and of course Juventus would require that kind of money. 25 million, it is less, but comparatively it will be good for Juventus as well. They will need a new player, and since Chiesa also wants to explore new teams, so I feel like I want to see him. I personally want to see him in Premier League, but let's see where and how he will perform. But I personally want him to explore the Premier League because he's a kind of player that should be in the media. He should have that media exposure.
What do you think is the club that will be in for him? Because for me, I don't think there's a club right now at the elite level who needs a player like Chiesa. Because if you see the elite teams, be it Real Madrid, Barcelona,
Hmm.
be it Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, any other club, top elite club, everyone has their attack sorted for this summer window, in
Hmm.
my opinion. Yeah, Liverpool has an issue with Salah, but
Hmm.
I don't think Chiesa would work in the system, and given the fact that the leadership has changed at Liverpool as well. So
Hmm.
it would be a big risk for Liverpool as well. No doubt the cost associated with very less, but let's see what happens in the transfer window as well.
What do you think about the Calafiori going to Arsenal move?
Uh, it's a bit risky move from me, I believe, because Calafiori is a good player, no doubt. His
Hmm.
performances at Bologna under Thiago Motta has been pretty great, and he was actually, in my opinion, he was the standout player in this Euros for Italy, given his
Hmm.
defensive capability and the structure in which he plays. And, the fluidity which he provides to the team, playing as a left back, playing as a left centre back. So he is a good player in my opinion, but I think it's a bit of a risk for Arsenal, and given the fact that they're trying to close the gap with Man City this season,
Hmm.
no, so they can't afford too
Yeah.
many risks in the defensive position because they already have centre backs, in Gabriel and Saliba.
Hmm.
Yes, they do need a new left back, so because Kieran Tierney, the other left backs are not. Zinchenko is also not that great as a left back, but it's going to be a risky move for Arsenal. I am sure they would have scouted him pretty intensively in this transfer market as well. And the cost associated is also not that much of a money. I guess it's around 40 to 50 million euros. So it's
Hmm.
a cost from a cost perspective for Arsenal, it wouldn't matter a lot. But given the fact that you have to hit the ground running from day one with a team like Man City in the lead to
Hmm.
challenge for the Premier League title. I think there would have been better options than Calafiori. It would have been better for the player as well to have, been a season more in the Serie A and experience top level
Hmm.
football because Bologna this season will be playing the Champions League. So I think that
Hmm.
experience would have helped him a lot playing against the elite teams in Europe. And given the fact that Champions League is also switching to a different format, so you have more games,
Yeah.
he would have had more exposure in terms of playing against better quality teams in the Champions League
Hmm.
from all across Europe. So I believe it is a risky move, but I think Arsenal with their scouting have proved that they are very good at
Hmm.
picking players from different leagues and integrating them to this particular team. What are your thoughts about the California move as well? Because it's good to have a differing opinion if you have.
I feel like I've seen his performances in this Euros 2024, and I think he is, of course, a quality player and he can make any team better. So, of course, Calafiori, I think, is a good signing for Arsenal, but of course, as you mentioned, it is a risky move. And the thing you said that he should have been at Bologna and should have played at least one more year because uh, they are in the Champions League, and since Bologna is not that great of a team, he would have faced much more harsh competition in that 1 year, and that would have improved him as a player. And after that, he could have performed anywhere, especially in the Premier League, because in the Premier League, you know, there is a kind of scrutiny that each media personnel is onto you if you're not performing, especially the top six. I'll keep Tottenham aside, but Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal. I'm sorry. Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester United, these teams, Liverpool, these four teams are the one that people focus. If you make one error, you will get dismantled throughout the whole media outlets. So that is what Dalit is also bringing, right? Because Dalit has not performed at that level. Calafiores also has not gained that much of an experience. So these two players will be in scrutiny by the media personals. In fact, the fans. So they need to perform. They need to be at their best because of course Calafiori has that advantage that he's still a young player. He still has got a lot of proof, so he will have that advantage. Fans will allow him to make mistakes. Of course he can make mistakes, but in a team like Arsenal, it will be a risky move. Any mistake would cost them the title, and we have already seen Arsenal losing out the title by little margins in the past 2 years. So Calafiori will have that advantage, but Delit won't have that advantage. He has already played in Italy. He has already played in Bayern Munich. He has already played in Ajax. He has played with great players. He has not had that kind of combination. And coming into Manchester United, which is already the team in the Premier League in the world that is quite focused by the fans and the media outlets more than Barcelona and Real Madrid, I would say. So I feel like any mistake by Delit at that point will lead him to the media outlet backfiring him. So Calafiori has that advantage, and I feel like even though if he'll make mistakes, Arsenal will allow him, acha, because he's a new player, let him adapt to the system. But Delete won't have that kind of advantage. So that is what I feel about this transfers that we have discussed so far. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your point, and it's going to be a bit of a more challenge for Delit than it is going to be for Calafiori because Calafiori is an option which Arsenal has.
Hmm.
Delit is not going to be an option. He's going straight into the team.
Hmm.
He will be the starting centre back alongside Martinez. So yeah,
Hmm.
I do agree with that. And if I would give a rating to the transfer, Calafiori is still a transfer rumor which is not yet. I mean, it is concrete, but it's not yet on the
Hmm.
final stages. The delayed transfer is on the final stages, according to Romano as well. So, from a perspective of a United fan, I would give the Calafiori transfer uh, a 6 out of 10 because I need more convincing in terms of player
Hmm.
quality and integration. And the Delete transfer is a bold move by the board at Man United and by Ten
Hmm.
Hag. But I think it's going to work because of the fact that he has those leadership qualities and he
Hmm.
has that experience in playing with various other centre backs and various other elite teams. Yeah, he has not performed that great, but I think it's because this is the last contract that we'll be getting, the big contract that we
Hmm.
say. Because he is now entering the prime years of his career. So he has to show and he has to prove to the world that he belongs in the elite centre back in the world because he's not starting in the
Hmm.
Euros as well for the second time. So he has to
Hmm.
prove to his country and to the other people all across the world that he is an excellent centre back, which showed so much of a promise in his Ajax days. So if I would give a rating, I would also give Dillet a 7 out of 10 rating as a transfer. But let's see what turns out in the transfer window. And given the fact that no other team is that involved in transfers right now, you see Man City not being linked to anyone that great. We have Edison leaving from their team. Liverpool are
Hmm.
also not that active. And that is mainly due to the Euros and the Copa America. Things will start to pick up once those competitions are
Hmm.
over. But it's very frightening to imagine. You know, teams will be going to their pre-season, and players are not yet being signed by these clubs. So let's see.
Hmm.
It's going to be a few interesting weeks in the coming days of the transfer window, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting from my perspective as well. And we will have a lot more to chat about in the coming weeks as well.
Sure. Sure, sure. I think the same, and I feel we have covered everything that we had in plans. So I feel like it is the best pilot episode we have had, and let's see how the audience reacts. But it was a great session, and if you have any closing words, we can just have that, and then we will close this
Uh,
first episode.
just follow the page on Spotify.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Marketing is
Yeah,
important.
yeah. All right.
uh,
Thank you so much then. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. This is me, Tanish Kate, signing off from the Football Digest.
And thank you, everyone. This is Atavaris from All About Football, and we hope that you like this first episode, and we'll be bringing much more content to you. And I hope that you will enjoy our podcast. So that is it from our side. Signing off, the Football Maniacs.